Welcome, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to the YSU Alumni Lecture Series. I'm coming to you from Boulder City, Nevada. Heather is in Youngstown, Ohio, and our guest speaker will be coming to you from Florida. So I think we've got the map covered this evening. We're doing pretty good. This evening promises to be very exciting and very informative. Again, I hope you all remember me, but I'm Dr. Cindy Anderson, the President Emeritus, and I do have the honor of serving as tonight's commentator for a former student of mine, Mr. Angel Rivera. In a few minutes, I'm going to introduce Angel to you, and he will discuss his dream and the perseverance to make it reality. Angel's going to answer questions at the end as time permits. And again, I know you're going to be interested. I know that everything that he has to say is true because we went through a lot of this together, I should say. Angel is truly a YSU success story. He's very humble, but he is truly a YSU success story. He graduated from the university in 2003. He's one of those students who truly made the most of his college education. Not only did he go to classes, he was very active in student activities. He joined a fraternity, and he also worked in our student affairs office. Additionally, he sought out the advice and the information regarding his own career dream with his professors and with his advisors so that he could determine how best to pursue the career in which he was interested. I, Gwen Latessa, Donna Greenaway, Jane, Pam, we can all attest to Angel's dream of becoming a designer. He spoke about it often while he was in the office. We talked about it, and he knew what his career goal was. Oftentimes, you would walk past Angel's desk if things weren't really busy, and you'd see a sketch sitting there. And I'm telling you, that sketch would be remarkable. It was almost like he was already a master of this career. He was incredible. The folks on campus who knew Angel when he was a student knew that there were big things in store for him. And he did prove all of us right. Angel hit the big time. He did it great. He pursued his dream. He pursued it the right way. And the most wonderful thing about all of this is that he loves what he does. He thrives on it. He loves to talk about it, and he loves to do it. So, having said all of that, folks, I am so very proud of all that he has accomplished. I've told him that 100 times. He's a wonderful person, a very giving and caring human being, and it is just a real pleasure and a privilege to know him and to be able to say, I knew him when he was a student at Youngstown State University. So having said all of that, I present to you Mr. Angel Rivera.
Thank you so much for those kind words. I am so honored. I am very happy to be with you all tonight. I just want to give you a brief synopsis of my history and how I got to be where I am today. Again, my name is Andrea Rivera. I am the designer of Angel Rivera Bridal. We have two collections, which are Angel Rivera Collection, which is the couture collection of bridal gowns that range at our retailers for $3,000 up to $8,000 for the bridal gown. And we have our Bridge Collection, which is our collection of gowns that range from the $1,800 mark to $2,900 mark, which have my mother's maiden name Flores collection after my mom's side of the family. I received my bachelor's degree from Youngstown State University in 2003 with a fashion merchandising degree in the fashion department there and minored in speech communications and business at YSU. I loved every minute of it while I was there. As Dr. Anderson said, I made sure to take part in every activity that I could take part in, from homecoming to fraternity and social events, to make sure that I could cultivate myself, being ready to maybe learn as much as I can in those activities, but as well as to be ready for stepping out to the world and being able to do what I wanted. I've done bridal now. It has been 11 years that I have owned Angel Rivera, the bridal company, and prior to that, I have worked in bridal since 2003 for designers such as Sala in New York City, Kenneth Poole, Christos, and the legendary House of Say Yes to the Dress Kleinfelds for almost 3 years there. It has been a great journey. A lot of people will ask me, how did I start in bridal, or what possessed me to want to be in bridal? Bridal has always been something I have loved since a child. On Saturdays, we were raised Adventist, and on Saturdays, my mom took us to the park to spend time in Mill Creek Park, which is one of the most beautiful parks I can tell you after traveling the world. That is around the world, is Mill Creek Park, with just the parks and the flowers. And we would go there every Saturday. And if you've been to Mill Creek Park on a Saturday and during the summer, it was the spot where every bride in Ohio wanted to take her photos at. So we would sit there and spend time with the family watching the brides take their photos. And it was one of the things that I loved best to do with my family, but as well as I loved watching the brides, and I became obsessed with bridal because as I would watch them, you could see the joy in that in the woman's face that she was married, and you could see the confidence that she had sometimes the day of her wedding because of the way she looked. And it was something that just enamored me, where I was just like, I love the way that they're very confident. And to this day, one of my philosophy that I've taken away from that in bridal has been, my philosophy is that I love to see the women look confident in my bridal gowns, and I design for the bride who wants to command the spotlight and to stand out in her own way and in her own vision. So as a child, I watched them and I thought it was an amazing thing. And from that point on, I just always told my mom and my sisters, I want to be a bridal gown designer. I'm going to design bridal gowns. And I had the opportunity when I signed up for college to go to Youngstown State University, which I was very proud and happy to go to. And it did take me some time to figure out what I wanted to do while I was at YSU. I knew down deep inside I wanted to do bridal fashion. But of course, most of us, as you're growing up as a young adult, you're thinking at that time for me was the only place I could really do it is if I moved to New York City, because it's the fashion capital of the world. And realistically, it's not. I mean, it is the fashion capital, but at the same time, you don't necessarily have to move. I had the great opportunity of going to YSU and to being able to work with so many of the staff and the administration there that kind of directed me, as well as the professors there that directed me. And I studied fashion there, and I thought it was a great experience, as well as I had the opportunities to be part of the fashion groups there. And the nice part was that the administration, as well as our professors, Dr. Mrs. Dre, and all of them that were there, were just so great at making sure that you were cultivating what you wanted to do and always pushing me to continue to do what I wanted to do, which was hopefully one day to be a bridal gown designer. And I was able to get my degree there at YSU, which I was very happy to do in 2003. And my journey from there went to right after 2000, 2 days after graduation, I think it was. I looked at my mom. We had our graduation party for college, and I looked at my mom, and I think she was at shock when I said, okay, I'm ready to go to New York. You have to drive me to New York. I'm going to move there. And I think she was just like, there is no way I'm driving you there and just dropping you off. And though she was probably not too thrilled about it, I did do just that. She drove me to New York with my belongings and left me at a friend's house for a short period of time, where I crashed on their couch. And at the time, we didn't really have too much of Indeed and ZipRecruiter and all that stuff. I remember moving to New York, and on a daily basis, as it was a very hot summer, August time. That summer when I moved to New York, is extremely warm, and you're dressed at that point. I was dressed in complete suit, because at that time for New York, you kind of had to walk around and drop off your resumes in the design and fashion district, which was not the easiest thing to do when it was 90 degrees outside and you're dressed just in case they asked you to come in. So I remember walking up Madison Avenue and then the garment district, and completely dressed in a suit jacket and a tie, and just kind of sweating but trying to keep it together. and dropping off my resume at different design houses that would let you drop them off at the time. And it wasn't even that you were guaranteed that they would see it. Would you would go into the doorman, and the doorman had a little mailbox, and you just placed your resume inside of the mailbox in hopes that it would get upstairs and that someone that was in charge of hiring would see it. And I probably did that for a good 3 weeks of looking for something and just dropping off my resumes to these places. And at one point, I did get a little discouraged. I think it was the hardest thing to just keep trying. I mean, it was discouraging in the fact that you just kept walking around in hopes that someone would just take a peek at that. And I one day went to the Amsala company, which I remembered was always on the corner of Madison Avenue on in the Revlon building in New York. And there was a doorman building. It was a very luxury building there, the Revlon building at the time. And somehow I was dressed again very well that day. And I think it was just fate, because this is what I want to do so much. A group of people that were working in the building were walking in, and I just kind of blended in with them because the doorman didn't stop me. And I was able to go right in, and I went up to the floor of where the Amsala company was, the designer. And I walked in, and the front desk person said to me, how did you get in, and what are you here for? And I just looked at her and I just said, I have my resume and I was hoping that I could leave it here in hopes of maybe trying to get a job in the bridal industry. And she said, well, you can just leave it right there. Very New York, you can just leave it right there. If there's something we're interested, we'll let you know. But I'm not even sure how you got in the building. And I was just like, well, and me being a naive Ohioan, I literally just looked at her and I said, well, through the front door like everyone else. And from there, I was walking home. I'm probably at that point a little discouraged, but my mom raised us to be very faithful and have a very good spiritual life, that I kind of just talked to God and said, God, this is what I really wanted to do. And if you want me to be here, you're going to let it happen. And about 10 minutes after that talk, I got a phone call from the Amsala company on my way going back to where I was staying. And they said, do you think you'd be able to come in within the next day or so for an interview? And I agreed, and I said, yeah, I can come in tomorrow. And they said, great, come in tomorrow. I sat down and had my first interview with them. It was for the operations manager position there. And it wasn't in design, but it was operations. And for me, I was just like, I'll take anything to get my foot just into the door in fashion at that time. And she interviewed me and she said, great, we'll let you know. And again, I just kind of talked to myself and to God and said, that's where I'm supposed to be. You're going to let it happen. And again, when I was talking, the next 10 minutes walking home, the second phone call came in. They said, we like the way you interviewed, and we like your resume because it looks like you have lots of experiences in what you did in your university, which was being active in different groups and clubs and all that, which means you're very active. And I was just like, yes. So they invited me to come back to actually meet with the designer herself, Amsala, to see if she liked me enough to hire me to work for her company. And I went again the next day, and I had the opportunity to sit down one-on-one with the now deceased Amsala, who was a great mentor while I worked there. And she hired me on the spot and said, you will be a great addition to the company. And I worked for that company for about 2 years. And it was a great experience. I was able to move myself up to running their Madison Avenue boutique for about a year, where I collected not only experience in design, but as well as experience in sales and how to cater to a luxury brand, how to represent a luxury brand, but as well as how to cater to a luxury brand clientele, which, is a little different in this industry, as well as to the sort of an emotional purchase, not just hey, this is what I like, buy it. It was a very emotional purchase for a woman when she's buying her bridal gown. I worked for them for about 2.5 years, and from there, I wanted to continue my education process because I knew needed a little bit more. So I ended up signing up, which was a great program, because I had my degree already from YSU. I really didn't want to go to a whole nother bachelor's degree program to now get a design degree, because I, since a child, and as Cindy said, was very artistic. I could design already. I knew how to draw and what I wanted to bring to life. The part that I was missing is the part of doing the patterns and actually creating the physical good myself and understanding what fit and how to get a sweetheart neckline or how to get a bust to fit a woman. So the construction aspect of the design. And so I ended up signing up for at Parsons School of Design, where I did a program called Continuing Education. Honestly, I'm not sure if they even have it anymore, but at that time they did, and it was for people who had already bachelor's degree and they wanted to now skip over the whole bachelor degree part and just focus on what it is they wanted to learn. So I did continuing education, where it was pattern making and construction. And I got a certificate there for pattern making and construction at Parsons School of Design. And after that, one day, I wanted to go back to the industry to work. I applied at Kleinfeld's, which is now the home of Say Yes to the Dress on TLC. And I applied to go there, and they gave me a call about 2 days after I applied and asked me to come work for them. I ended up working and getting lots of experience being there, because I had the opportunity to represent all of the designers they carried there at the store and work with them one-on-one, and also work with the buyer there, Dorothy Silver, for about 3 years, and meeting and helping to grow that business there with them. And one day I was having a really rough day that day, I think, and it was one of those days where you just felt like I'm working so hard, but I don't know if I'm necessarily achieving what I really wanted to do, which was to be a designer and do it for myself. And my other half pretty much just looked at me and said, "Hey, stop whining and do something about it. Like, this is what you want to do. Go out and do it." And I was just like, "Yeah, but how am I going to do it?" And he was just like, "You're just going to go out and do it." And I did it, and what I ended up doing was, while working at Kleinfeld's, I would work at Kleinfeld's from 9 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night, in the evening, I should say. And after that, I would go back home and I had a small office in a basement of a building, and I worked on my collection from 7 o'clock at night to 1 in the morning. And then I would do it all over again. I'd wake up first thing in the morning, 7 in the morning, be in the city by 8:30 to work until 6 again, and then go right back to my design room at 7 to keep working on my collection. And then in 2009, I decided that that year when I was doing that, that it was going to be that season I was going to show my first collection. And I ended up showing my first collection of April of 2009 in New York City at New York Bridal Fashion, and it was one of the best experience to have in my life, where I was able to achieve my goal of seeing my collection come to life. And actually, my first boutique and store that I sewed to was my employer after they saw it, which was Kleinfeld's, where they do Say Yes to the Dress, and they were the first ones to purchase the collection to have in store. And from there, we have grown the company to right now for the past 11 years, and we continue to grow it every year, adding more stores. We are in California, Arizona, Charlotte. I have my own personal flagship salon that we opened about 4 years ago in New Jersey, where they carry every single gown that I've ever designed there. And we keep adding stores, and now I'm in the works of opening a second location now here in Florida, in the Orlando area. Hopefully within the next 3 to 4 months, we'll be up and running there. And we continue to hopefully to take this to the next level, as I like to say, and to achieve new heights. My collection, I really designed it now at this point. A lot of people ask me, who do you design for? I really designed my collection for the bride who's a confident woman and just really wants to make her statement in her bridal gown. We designed for the bride who also wants to command the spotlight and make her mark. And I love getting all the photos and speaking to my bride. So a lot of the times people say, what are you motivated to design the collection with? I really am motivated by my brides. I love meeting them. I still do designer appearances, work one-on-one with our brides. and design gowns that I can see or hear what they're wanting. Um, my fit for my collection, because fit is very important for my collection at this point. I am a Hispanic male. My sisters and my family are, Hispanic women. So I was raised with curves, and so my
Good to
so
know.
my bridal gowns are fit for girls who really have curves. We cut for a nice bust, we cut for a small, for a good waist, and we cut for a beautiful, hip area that really knows how to hug and show off your assets in the best way possible. Um, uh, so,
You said that so nice.
uh, but I love I love it. I mean, I love what I do. Right now we have about, we have employees that we do have sales, which I manage, which are under our sales division that, sell directly to our brides who are our sales consultants. Right now, I used to have every aspect of the business under my belt that I took care of, from accounting to marketing to designing to production. But at this point, as we are growing, some of it I have learned has got to get out of my hands and go to other people. So I have learning as we keep going in this as well that I keep hiring more and more people. So now we have accountants on staff. We have sales reps on staff, sales consultants that are on staff, and marketing and PR as well. I am very involved though in every aspect of it. A lot of the times I'm very involved in our social media and our marketing plans, and I am the only one who designs the collection still. That's the one thing that I loved so much, and my goal was in life to design this collection. But I've made sure that the brand is still designed by me, both collections, no matter what. And a lot of times people will ask me, well, where do you design? Where do you find the time to design? You're always on the go. And I will say my design comes from when I'm designing is when I am on an airplane flying most of the time to do a designer appearance to California or to Charlotte, where I am quietly in my chair, just sitting there with no one bothering it or no one calling me to ask me a question. I sit there quietly for hours at a time and just design there quietly by myself. And you know, I I started this because it was a dream of mine. Like I said, as a child, it was something that I wanted to do very badly, and through hoops and hurdles, I sometimes can't even believe that I get to do what I love on a day-to-day basis. There are days where I do question. I'm like, do I really want to do this? It's been a rough day, but then I do remember it's something that I love, and it's something that I'm proud of on a day-to-day basis that I've been able to achieve. A lot of people right now ask me, well, why, I was in New York till yes Sunday. I just recently moved now to Florida. And people are like, well, why'd you move? And it really just honestly, with the pandemic that has just occurred, as we're still all going through it, it's opened, I think, a lot of eyes for a lot of people. And I found that, I love New York and I did the New York thing, but at the same time, um, I wanted to do something a little bit more. New York has become so expensive that it's very hard to run your business sometimes there. And also, just on a personal level, it's very expensive it's becoming more and more expensive to live there. And so I chose Florida because it's sunny all day long and there's no snow.
No.
And the cost of living is a lot more reasonable here, as well as to be able to have my offices here. So we have moved our wholesale division to the Orlando area. So our wholesale, which is manufacturing, our offices for marketing, will all be out of here in Orlando area now, and our shipping and receiving departments. And our retail location in New Jersey will stay in the New Jersey, New York area now, catering still to that bride. And then we will open our second location here. Since I'm here, we'd like to have a second location here.
Angel, that's wonderful. Take us through the steps. So a bride comes into you and wants a bridal gown designed. Take us through the steps that you go through with that individual.
Sure. So those are a lot of times that's custom design. So First of all, I do two collections a year. So these are collections that I design in spring and fall. And these collections come out, and usually they have about 40 gowns in those each collections. So those gowns you can customize, but there are designs that I design, and then you can either take it as is or you can change something about it on that gown. As far as custom design is what you're referring to, where we can have a bride come meet me one on one and completely customize and design a gown, really starts from sketch to what I say to actual dress. So we start off with sitting down and finding out what is it that my bride wants? What is it that's the style she's looking for? What are styles from our current collection that I designed that accent her body beautifully, or she loves details on them, or she likes the fit of them? From there, I will design the gown on paper, which it used to be on paper, but as technology keeps growing now, I do exclusive designing on my iPad because I can do changes very quickly on the iPad and bring it to life. And from there, we go to pattern making, which is the actual physical pattern of the gown, to the cutting of it and making the physical dress. The bride tries it on, and now we start tweaking that dress to her body to make it fit her perfectly for the day of the wedding. So it really does take a lot. So when people ask me for custom, it's one of the things that takes us the longest time because this gown is being fit and made perfectly for your body, where it will be the one piece of clothing that most girls will ever wear that has been made or fit to their body to perfection. Most of the time, we're used to as consumers just going to a store very quickly and you purchase something off the rack and you just wear it in whatever size it is. The bridal gowns that we do are made to fit your body perfectly, and then our seamstresses that I work with or work with me will fit the dress even more to your body, where now the dress curves and hugs every aspect of just your body that if somebody else were to put that dress on, it wouldn't fit them the same.
So timeline wise, what's the average amount of time that it would take from start to finish to do to take care of a bride to get her gown finished?
So if you purchase one of my gowns from my collection as is, those gowns take anywhere from 4 to 6 months to be made. And because of the fact that one thing when people are like, oh my goodness, your gowns start at maybe 1900 or start at 300 from our couture collection, just be aware that we are importing fabrics from Italy, from Japan, from France, laces from France and Turkey, beading from India. So those are a lot of things like that that make the gowns that price point. But as well as for something that's custom that you're referring to, that sometimes can take us up to 12 months just because we're making patterns from scratch to fit this bride's body now all the way to the physical dress to be ready for the day of the wedding.
Wow. What would you say is the biggest challenge that you meet in designing a dress for a bride?
I think the biggest challenge is for me when I'm designing for a bride is her understanding what can aesthetically and construction wise actually be done as compared to sometimes the client comes in with an idea of like, I want this ruffle to keep going up in the air and just wave away. And it's like, well, that can only happen if we kind of put some kind of cardboard behind you to hold it up. Um, so it's I think of getting the client to understand that we can do a lot of things, but there are limitations to everything.
I have a couple questions here from I have several questions. Okay. Um, from Ariel Flores. Do you have a favorite moment in mind that's a highlight of your career? Something
I
that inspires you?
uh, think the one of my I would say one of the highlights for my career so far, and that pops in my head, um, was the day that I got to design my little sister two bridal gowns, and to watch her get to physically wear both of those bridal gowns and get married that day. That was probably one of the highlights for my career.
Great. That's wonderful. That's something you're always going to remember. And this is a comment from Brian Wells. I'm sure you remember him. First is
Yes.
someone who, yeah, I talk to him too all the time. We laugh and hoot and holler together. First, as someone who knew you in undergrad, I'm so proud to see how you've grown and what you will continue to accomplish. Second, I'm now advising many of our merchandising students. Do you have any advice I can give to our students who are seeking to follow a similar path as you? And I had that question down too. Okay, like minds, Brian. So,
I, First of all, I would say don't stop. I know it's going to get hard sometimes. You're going to feel very discouraged of achieving a goal, especially in fashion merchandising or in fashion in general. But don't stop. You've got to keep pushing yourself to keep to try to achieve what it is that you want to achieve in this industry. It is a cutthroat industry. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's not. We get, or I myself get tons of resumes of young adults who want to be in the fashion industry. And really, we can only hire 1 to 2 at a time to
wow.
even take the positions. But I would say don't stop, keep focusing on what it is that you want to do. But at the same time, you know, while you're at Youngstown State University, I would recommend to them to be involved in as much as you can while you're there and be involved in as many activities as you can there. You would be surprised a lot of times, even for me as an owner of a company, on when I'm hiring someone, I'm looking at activities that they did showing that they not only went to school, but they were also able to multitask in other things and have leadership in these activities that they did. Because really in fashion, and I think personally in a lot of business aspect, in positions that people are receiving now, you must be able to multitask. It's just not going to be one job anymore. We're going to be asking you to do multiple jobs, and especially in fashion. You will sometimes be involved in marketing, but you're also going to be sometimes involved in, for example, design meetings where we're asking you, well, what is the marketing asking here in designing?
Wonderful advice. And you and Brian both were very great at involving yourself and being able to do 500 things, all juggling 500 balls at the same time. There's a note here from Megan McDonough Hanson, who says, so very proud of you, and I wore an Angel Rivera gown. Very
Oh, yes,
nice.
you
Very
did. Thank
nice.
you.
Yep. And another question, Christina Rivera. Since you are living your dream already, is there any other goal or dream you have? I had that question down too. Okay, what's your next goal or your dream?
Oh my goodness. That's a really good one. I think my next goal is really just to continue to have my business continue grow. I was just telling you earlier when we had a chance, my goal is to have hopefully by the next 2 years at least 30 to 40 stores that are carrying Angel Rivera, but as well as my next goal after we kind of conquer a little bit in the more of the bridal industry, I would really like to come out with a ready to wear collection where you can go to maybe a Saks or a Nordstrom's and pick up a, Angel Rivera, little black dress or an Angel Rivera evening gown.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Angel, have you had some challenges that you never expected to have?
I would say yes. In the beginning of my industry, when I was joining my industry, I should say, it was really surprising to find out that when I first came to New York, and especially it was New York, you wouldn't think so. It was really hard to have people accept me as a male in the bridal industry. I even remember to this day, one of the directors at one of the companies I was at said to me, well, you're a male, you're not going to go very far in this industry. And I was just like, well, that's a little weird. I was like, we're in New York. I thought everybody can. But that was one of the largest, was to the first I think year or two is just breaking down the barrier of having some of the females kind of accept me into the industry. That was a pretty prominent female driven industry where a lot of the salespeople and directors were females. That was one of the largest things for me that I think that I had to battle in the beginning. And now, one of my biggest challenges right now, and it's so sad to say, but is social media. I am just horrible at staying up with social media for our business and personal. But it's one of the things that is helping our business to grow on a day-to-day basis is staying up on our Instagram, and I'm learning and struggling on a day-to-day basis because not only that, our clientele that we cater to loves to have this one-on-one with the designer.
Yeah. I can relate totally to that social media thing. As Heather would tell you, when she asked me to do this, I said, I'm not capable of doing that. Think about who you're talking to here. Oh my goodness. So I know what you're saying, but keeping up with it is something else. Have you had any regrets, Angel?
Um, yeah, I would say yes, but not so much in what I've done. I think one of the a regret or maybe the hardest thing I think from choosing to do what I love, and trying to attain the goal of doing what I love was that I had to leave my family. And that was one of the hardest things, is to get up and move away and to leave your family, and as well as when your sisters, because we're very close, start to have children and not to necessarily be there for all the little milestones for your nieces and nephews. But just being with them on a day-to-day basis, I think that would be one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with. Sometimes I've gone to the point where it's like, am I choosing my business or my goal more than I'm choosing my family? So it becomes a little bit of a hard thing back and forth.
You told me earlier when we were talking yesterday that you wanted to be realistic. So if there was something that you wish you could do differently or do over, what might that be if there was something?
Uh, Not wait so long to start my own damn company.
Ah, you did. You went through at least two other designers, right?
Yeah, it was a good amount of time for me to finally get myself a good swift kick in the butt to do it myself.
What was actually the most exciting gown you've ever created?
I think one of the most exciting gowns I would probably have to say, it was twice for me, and it was when I got to design a gown for Reba McEntire,
Ooh,
which was really a highlight for me, and have her complimented and want to wear it. That was something that was just a
wow.
really big compliment for me. And the other one was to be able to work one and one with Gail King, Oprah Winfrey's best friend.
Okay, wonderful. Oh my gosh. So you've met a lot of the famous folks, I assume?
Yes, we get to meet them every now and then and work one on one with them.
That's
I
great.
mean, it's very nice to do, but a lot of times we're not allowed to share because we have to keep it a secret. So some of them I'm just like, yes, I got to do it, but we're not allowed to share.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier in your presentation that you did a lot of traveling. So where have you traveled to?
So I have traveled to a lot to Asia. I've traveled to Hong Kong, to mainland China, to Guangdong. I do a lot of travel here in the US. I travel to California about twice a month to all of our stores here in the US. I try to get to them at least once every 2 months. And my next goal, because we are starting to work now with Turkey, is to be, hopefully when this pandemic is over, is to be going to Turkey next to work in Turkey with fabrics there that are available now coming here to the US.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Heather sent me the message that there are lots of messages of congratulations and well wishes aside from questions. So I think she's going to forward those all to you at a later time. Lots of congratulations. Angel, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us? We're almost out of time here. Is there
Um,
anything else?
I'd probably just say in closing, for those who are watching and for those students who are watching or may watch this later on when you have your time is, don't stop. Don't let yourself get discouraged where you want to stop to achieve your goal. Coming from someone that this has had this dream as a child to be able to achieve, to be a designer, has not been easy, and it has come with some struggles, and it has come with some things that I've had to give up. But I will tell you, at the end of the day, when you achieve that goal, it has been worth every minute, and and just something you won't regret at the end of the day, I think. And as well as for the students that are watching, take full advantage of your YSU experience. You have no idea how many students I meet and get to hear their experiences at university or college. and how I'll hear what their experiences were or what they're even offered, and realize that you have such a gift by being able to go to Youngstown State University and have so many things available to you. So just make sure you take advantage to be able to use them.
That's great. Well, thank you. Thank you from Youngstown State University. And thank you so very much, Angel. Again, we are so, so proud of you. You are the perfect example of perseverance, dream, perseverance, goal achievement, and you did it all. And again, I can attest to the fact that you did that, and you made sure that you had your career path laid out. Not everything goes exactly as planned, but you did it. And again, a total wonderful YSU success story. Congratulations to you. And we're going to have to keep talking with you on and on so that we can get updates as to where you are with your 40 new areas where you're going to have. And I'm
Thank you
glad
so
to hear
much.
that you're making these great big gowns for the larger individual, I might say. How's that for wording? So,
We like to say curvy.
oh, I like curvy too. Okay. Okay, that's good. Thank you very, very much again.
Thank you.
We do hope that you'll tune in next to the next alumni lecture series program on Thursday, November the 12th at 7 p.m. Jason Moncrief, a 2002 graduate who has held elite music performance roles around the world, will present Carving a New Performance Path, the Modern Day Performer. So again, uh, on the 12th of November, 7 p.m. And thank you again, Angel, so very, very much for everything. This was absolutely wonderful. Great catching up with you, too. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.